trading at its best.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here. We've got a little bit of a different group here, so we'd like to welcome everybody first. Let's start by saying thank you for coming, and we welcome all of the newcomers and everybody that's been with us before. We've started what we call kind of a Forex 101 module, and we've done a couple of them now. This will be the third, and so we'll get started here. Give us just another minute here, and we'll jump right in. Okay, as I just barely mentioned, we've done some kind of interesting things over the past few weeks, and we've had a lot of interest in a kind of a more beginning level of a better introduction, we could call it, into trading the Forex markets. And so we're excited to offer you today a little bit of insight into trading on the platform side. We've spent some time talking about everything from terminology to, we've gone into different mistakes that are commonly made trading Forex, some of the things that you do and you don't want to do in getting started. And so today we're gonna take a little bit of a look at MetaTrader and some of the things that we can learn. My name is Nate Muno, and I'm very excited to jump into this with you guys. If you have questions, if you're not already familiar with the GoToWebinar chat box, there is a little orange arrow in the top right-hand corner. It should be in the top right-hand corner, little orange box, excuse me, with a white arrow. When you click that, it extracts out your menu, and that's going to be your connection to us in the webinar here. So there's a lot of different things that you have to. Okay, as we mentioned, this is going to be Module 3. This is we plan on having several more, but this is just the third one. So if you're interested in watching some of the previous ones, of course we can also get you those links. It's something that you sign up, you can get into on our mailing list, and we'd be happy to send those out to you. Because, of course, Forex is foreign exchange currency trading, and for a lot of people that have already been into trading a little bit, you may have heard of PipStat, Momentix, Trade Hero, Pip Hero. These are some of the products that are brought to you by TradeWest Forex. The lead trader and programmer of TradeWest Forex, of course, being Mike Swanson. So any of you that have already followed Mike in the past, maybe you've heard of DDSMM or Forex Decoder or some of these other names, very likely you're already a little bit familiar with them. But we're going to jump into this head first. Okay, this is the MetaTrader portion. We're going to talk about it just for a little bit, just before we jump into it. But if you'd like to, please grab a notepad. It doesn't hurt to have something that you can write on. I know that when I was looking into it a little bit further, I was making several notes, and it's nice when you have things handy. And one of the mistakes that I had to learn from early on in trading was it never hurts to have resources readily available at your fingertips. Forex can be a lot of fun, and it can also be very strenuous and stressful if you're not prepared to execute a trade, or maybe to get out of a trade, or to even scale out of a trade, whatever it is you're trying to do. If you're ready for it, it makes a big difference. So that's one of the things to consider have things close by, it's not an issue, and you feel comfortable with what's going on. Okay. So I like this quote, and I thought I'd add it in here just so we get everybody kind of thinking. Vitality shows not only the ability to persist, but the ability to start over. The reason I brought this up was I wanted you guys to think about this. If you're just getting into trading, we talked about this a little bit last time in the last module, but really so much of trading is creating good habits. It's very difficult because sometimes we get probably the wrong sense of confidence sometimes. Sometimes we get lucky, or we have sometimes even a streak of luck, and it misdirects us. So we want to make sure that in going into trading, we have kind of a clear mind. We have the ability to focus our energies and our efforts on what is going to obviously bring our profitability and and improve our bottom line. It doesn't mean that every day you're going to win. It doesn't mean that every day you're going to increase that equity curve, and it's going to be it's not going to be the right side of a parabola. I don't know anybody yet to date that has started out that's seen that kind of an equity curve where it's just been a constant upward climb. But the ability to start over is huge. It makes a very big difference in your Forex trading career. So keep that in mind. Okay. Now, one of the things that I wanted to mention in this section, this module of the Forex 101 that we're putting together is there's a lot of different ways that you can approach MetaTrader, and there's so many different things that you can do to really improve your experience while you're trading. So please keep that in mind. Once again, you can take notes on the things that I'm showing you now. These are going to be something, all of the hotkeys and things like that are something that we're going to put into a PDF. I thought it might even be handy if we had it on a PDF to the point where we could actually go in and, you could maybe fold it into almost a name tag looking piece of paper or something that you could have, maybe tape it to the bottom of your monitor. So we will put that together for you, and we'll post that here next to the video in the members area. So if that's something you're interested in, please let us know, and we'll put that together for you. Okay, starting out just with the hotkeys, just to explain that really quick here. You have several things that you can do to speed up your process. Now, to give you kind of an idea, if you're trading, depending upon the platform that you're trading, so many of them are going to change. And the one that we're going into, let me explain really quickly why we have such a focus on MetaTrader and MetaTrader 4 specifically. MetaTrader is one of, I would say, about 6 or 7 main platforms. There's several out there. We are also one of the companies that's going in and developing our own trading platform. So we're actually, it's not to say that there's not good platforms out there and we're creating our own. It's just it's nice to be able to offer something and be able to control every element and every aspect of it. The reason why MetaTrader 4 has been such a popular platform is really mainly because it's so customizable. There's so many different things that you can do in that trading platform, and the opportunities are almost endless. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. From the developmental side, we can't control everything, so that's obviously why we're working on our own platform. And however, there's a lot of things that you can do from a retail trading standpoint. There's so many different things that you can do, which is awesome. Okay, so starting off at the top here, on these hotkeys, you're seeing left arrow. You can scroll chart to the left, right arrow, up arrow, down arrow. There's different things that you can use, and the more familiar you are with your keyboard and how that keyboard works, the better off you're going to be as far as trading and setting things up. Now, I'm going to, like I mentioned, we're going to put this together in a PDF form, so it's going to be a little bit easier for you to be able to get all all of the different keys, and you've got them, so you'll have them handy. This is just kind of a show of some of the things that we're going to have in there. So okay, here's a little bit more of them. You've got your F1, F2, all the way through F12, of course. And I'm going to give you kind of an orientation as to what the different screens are and what they're comprised of. Okay. We'll go through and I'll show you some of these basic ones as well. But we'll jump into that. Keep in mind that we're not going to throw everything at you today. This will be Module 3. We'll do another one next week, of course. So if you're interested in catching kind of the next segment, you'll have to kind of stay tuned. But we will break them off so that we're not taking too much time, and you can sit down and just go from one video to the next after they've been done. We are recording. So okay. All right. Well, let's pause things here for a second. Let's jump into the charts. Okay. So while we're getting things ready here, once again, if you're interested, you can pull out a piece of paper if you haven't already to take some notes. If you're watching the replay, it might be a little bit easier. It makes it nice because you can pause things. But if you have questions, we do have support reps that are standing by that can also respond and answer any questions. If you're interested, you can also, we're going to show some contact information at the end of this video, and you can get in touch with us that way as well. So that'll make it kind of nice. Okay. Well, first things first. When looking into any kind of a platform, it's good to educate ourselves, of course, just to how to go about doing anything before we start pulling the trigger. I'm going to go ahead and show a little bit of the members area within TradeWest Forex. You can kind of see some of the downloads and things like that. But I'm going to show you step by step kind of how to get started with this stuff, because sometimes we cruise through it so quickly that that we forget some aspects of it. Okay. All right. So in the members area, the first thing that we're going to do is, now I'm assuming that you have already had a chance to be with us or join us on one product offer or another. We've developed several, of course. In the members area, you can see that there's of course the access and things like this to different software and tools. The most recent that we've been working on, of course, is Momentix. There's a downloads page, and you can get access to all of the software, of course, in the members area on the downloads page. The nice thing that we've been working on recently has been the auto updaters. But just to go right into it, to show you what I would recommend, my first recommendation typically is to find a solid brokerage. When I say solid, I mean I don't think any of them are bulletproof, but as far as what they offer, we've spoken a little bit in the first module about spreads, about execution, about actually placing the trade, and how your broker actually deals with taking what you're doing in the way of an order and processing that, and then how your odds of having a profitable and successful trade, or even trading day, week, or year, what have you, how all that kind of lines up. So I'm going to go on and kind of show you real quick here. MetaTrader 4, the reason why we're using MetaTrader 4 is it's the most stable at this current time. It's the most stable, and it's been the best overall trading platform. Now, I will say, and I mentioned in the last module that I talked a little bit about MetaTrader 5. We'd like to bring that up in a future webinar to give a little bit better idea as to what MetaTrader 5 is going to offer. If you're watching this as a replay, depending upon how much time it's been, we might already be doing MetaTrader 5. But for the time being, we're going to kind of introduce you to MetaTrader 4. The first thing that you're going to do is download the file. And this can be done once again in the members area. Of course, it's showing you different options between everything from Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, and Google Chrome. This is where you're going to see it. The one that I opened up, I'm using Internet Explorer because I think the majority of our users have, a lot of them have used Internet Explorer. So you can go in here and you can actually run it or save the file. So I'm going to go ahead and hit run. You can go into view downloads. It asks if you want to continue, if you have administrator rights in there. And you're going to get a screen like this. Of course, it's welcoming you to the platform setup. We're going to click next. Of course, it asks create a desktop shortcut. I would recommend doing that. Also, launch program after successful installation. I'm going to say yes as well to that. Depending upon your system, it's going to typically put that in your C drive under program files. If you have a 64-bit operating system, it's going to look just like that. It takes a minute to kind of fill that out. As you can see, it's actually creating this account as we speak with MetaTrader. Excuse me, with FinFX. It's successfully completed, and then click the Finish button. Pretty easy. This screen right here, it's just sitting there. We close out. We're still in the members area, of course. Okay. So what we get is a screen that looks like this, and this is the platform. Now, the things that want to do, when you get into this part of the platform and you get a setup, you still have several different options. And it's going to ask you, it's going to offer you different things. I'll go ahead and minimize this. As you can tell, I've got more than one setup. But this little window right here says open an account. Now, it's going to ask us specifically what kind of things that we want to do, how we want to set this up. Everything from leverage to how much money we're going to deposit. Now, if we're going through the process of actually opening a live account, of course, being real money, I don't necessarily recommend that anybody, if this is your first time trading, I don't recommend that you start out with live money. However, if you just have no thrill whatsoever and you're looking for that little level of excitement or real movement and change from one day to the next, then yes, you might want to open a live account, and we'll talk a little bit more later about the different sizes of accounts, of course. Starting out as very low as what they call cent accounts or nano accounts, moving up to micro accounts, mini accounts, and then even all the way up to standard accounts. But this is the page that you'll see, or the little window that's going to open up for to start and open an account. Now, if you're opening several of them, it might get kind of old. You might not be interested in opening up, in putting in all of your information. I typically don't put in all of this if it's a demo account. Obviously, if you're opening up a live account, then you're going to do that. Now, as far as the different kind of accounts that they offer, this is going to depend upon your broker. So depending upon what you're using that platform for, that specific broker, each account is going to be set with specific settings that you've essentially established from the beginning. So that's one of the things that you have to consider. As you can see here, this broker, FinFX, which is in Finland, they do accept U.S. clients, which is one of the reasons that I like them, and they offer higher leverage than you can get in the U.S. So it's one of those things to consider. I can't tell you how many times I've traded with different. I've had different traders with us that have asked questions or needed help with different things, and they're blown away to find out that they can even get a higher leverage. It is available, and this is one of those brokers that actually offers it. Not to mention they have what we had called before tight spreads. So tight spreads meaning that there's not a huge difference in between when you click that button to execute a trade in comparison to where it actually enters you into the trade. And in other words, how much your broker is charging you just to make that trade or just to execute that trade. So you have at the top here, you've got ECN USD, ECN Euro, ECN Fin Euro. So you can see that there's several different options here. Normal USD, normal Euro, micro USD. So in this situation, you know, in my own opinion, there's a couple that I'm going to open up. Of course, I'm from the States, so it's going to be either an ECN USD or a micro USD. Sometimes maybe a normal. But that's going to depend on what kind of systems and what kind of things I'm actually using on that account. Now, just for the sake of being able to run just about all of our software, I'm probably going to go with a micro account. But keep in mind, ECN is that electronic communication network that is used from the meta quotes or the brokers that actually have that data feed. And what they're doing is you're going to get a cleaner, faster signal typically. Execution's a little bit better. There's different advantages to it. There's also disadvantages. On the micro side, you're looking at smaller accounts. It might cost you a little bit more in different situations, but it also sometimes leaves things open for you a little bit more for different robots or expert advisors, different things like that. So that's one of those things that if you have any questions on that, we can kind of give you an idea as to, according to what you're trying to accomplish, what's going to best fit what you're doing. Okay, so in this situation, we'll go ahead and, you know, today with what we're doing, actually, we'll do an ECN USD. Now, keep in mind that depending upon how much money you're depositing into the account, a brokerage has the opportunity or the ability to say yay or nay to whatever your leverage is. If you're a brand new trader, there's a good chance that they might not offer you the highest leverage that their brokerage offers. And don't take offense to this. It's something that they are doing in a sense to keep you around. A lot of times they don't want you to come in and just, you know, throw all your money away. They want you to be successful more often than not. A good brokerage anyways will. In this situation, we might be stuck with the lower leverage, but I'll show you 200 to 1. And you can say 5,000. More often than not, with FinFX, you're not going to be able to take and do 200 to 1 in accounts that are over $1,000. So that's something to keep in mind. So we'll go ahead and we'll say we're going to do this at $1,000. You can put in your own amount here as well. We can even go like this. We can even set it at, say, $900. And then hit next. Okay, we're just going to hit next through that. Okay, now this information, to give you kind of an idea, this is just a demo. This information is something that you can write down. If you put in your actual email address, they're going to send this to you in an email. So that's one other thing to consider. I'm going to hit finish because I want to jump right into it.
Incoming mail.
And you can hear the little message saying incoming mail. This was on my other screen here, so I just wanted to separate that out so you could see it. Okay. Now, when you start out with MetaTrader, there's several different things to consider. The way it's set up is really just kind of a beginning suggestion. There's no right or wrong way to set up your platform, depending upon what kind of trader you're going to be or what kind of currency pairs you're going to be watching or trading. Some people, I've seen it where they have 12 to 16 different depending upon the size of their screen, of course. But I'll see that they have several different platforms, or not platforms, but charts open. But starting out at the very top left, you can tell up here it's giving me a brand new account number. It's saying MetaTrader 4 FinFX. That's the brokerage, and it's showing that it's a demo account. Now, more often than not, a demo account can be differentiated by down here in this lower box. You've got different boxes. I'll explain them in a second. You can tell very quickly if it's a demo account. For 90% of the brokers out there, you're going to see a little person there with a green shirt. We'll go into that in just a minute. Okay, the very top left, of course, you have File. Now, this is software, and it's something that you can maximize to your screen. Okay, you can minimize it. You can make it whatever size fits. You can even stretch it across 3 screens. If you've got 3 different screens and a graphics card that'll enable you to do that, and you want to see bigger charts, I've seen people that have, you know, anywhere from 3 to 6 or even 9 screens. You can set them up in different ways. but it makes it nice to be able to watch. And if your computer's fast enough to keep up with it, then everything is in real time, and you can see that take place. So top left under File, you can see New Chart, Open Offline, Open Deleted. You can go through several different options here in kind of what we call a context menu. Now, one of the things that I highly recommend is after you get a little more familiar with it, and this will probably be in a different webinar, but I highly recommend that you get familiar with profiles, because one of the first things that I hear in the way of complaints from traders is, well, I had to of course update my MetaTrader, or I had some kind of I had a new installation of a new expert advisor or new this or that, and they close everything down, and they don't keep it exactly the way they had it. There's really one solid, good way to bypass having to reset everything, and that is by going to Profiles. Okay, this of course is under the File menu like we mentioned here. In Profiles, you can set things up a specific way, and then you can hit Save As. It's going to give you the opportunity to save it however you'd like to. So obviously this isn't what I care to use, but this is probably quite different than the way I set up my charts. But you can choose whatever profile name you'd like, and then of course you can hit OK, and you can go through and save that. I'm going to hit Cancel for now. You can also go in and save it as a picture. This is kind of a cool feature because, and this is one that several of our members are using, because they like to maybe save an image and be able to show that. There's different software out there, that from Camtasia to Jing, several different things out there that also use that. But if you're not familiar with that, you can save a picture with your MetaTrader. Of course, these brokers want you to open an account. So first and foremost, they're hoping that people will have the opportunity to see what their trading platform is like. They'll get a feel for what it's like with the demo. And if the broker's doing their due diligence for their traders, they're probably staying pretty true to what the actual markets are doing. In that case, it's kind of an incentive to find a good broker, test them out on demo. 9 times out of 10, I recommend that you test it out on a demo. If you've been doing it for a while, it might be a little bit different, but it still makes sense to run things on demos. There's nothing wrong with having several demos, and maybe just one live account even if you're just getting started. Or just go completely demo until you're ready to open up and put real money on it. Logging in is going to open up and get you into the account. As you can tell, when I set this up, it automatically logged me in. So your initial time it's going to log in initially, set up everything for you. You'll have it there. It's going to be kind of a default setting, as you can see here. So that's another thing to kind of consider. Okay, so as we go through here, you also have the opportunity to print things, and so there's everything pretty much on your file. Now on View, you can see here that there's several things that are already kind of marked in there. What we have showing currently is a Market Watch window. We have a Navigator window, and then we also have a terminal. Now I've already showed you some of the hotkeys, but here's some of them off to the right, which makes it kind of nice. Control M is going to pull up your Market Watch. So if we come over here and we hit Control M, if it's not up, it's going to go. If it's already there, it's going to disappear. So Control M just got rid of my Market Watch. If I hit Control N, it's going to get rid of my Navigator box. So Control N, it's going to bring it back. Control M, it's going to bring the Market Watch back. Okay, and then you can also grab in between these. So they're modular, so it makes it kind of nice. You can hover your cursor over the top of the separating lines of each one of these boxes, and you can move them, make them as long as you want or as short as you want. Okay. When you start opening things up, you're going to notice that it's nice to be able to see what you're doing and see what you're accessing. Another thing, when you get a lot of different platforms open, or not platforms rather, but charts open, one nice thing is to be able to close off some of the things that you don't need. So in other words, if you're watching the Euro-US and you're watching 3 or 4 other charts like we have here, then you may very likely want to right-click on this on the Market Watch and say Hide All. Now what that's doing is it's not hiding everything. Obviously, there's still 4 different symbols or currency pairs here. So you have the dollar franc, you've got the pound dollar, the euro US dollar, and then the pound yen, or excuse me, the dollar yen. And what's nice about that is the information that's being fed to your computer is all of these different things are taking place in real time. So what you're seeing right now, when you see a pair of these go red, you're seeing the actual market for the dollar yen tick down. What that means, everything that takes place, the smallest movement that you can actually measure in Forex is actually what they call a tick. If you've been trading different markets and different things, some of this is going to, of course, be reviewed to you, but every little thing is a tick. So you can see just by watching this, we've had blue ticks up and ticks down. If it's down, it's going to be red, of course, showing that it's bearish. And if it's up, you're going to see the bullish movement, and it means that it's ticking up. Now, once again, when we hover our cursor over the lines of the boxes, we have the ability to move things. Now, I just moved the side of this chart and made the chart a little bit smaller. But if I want to grab that actual that market watch and pull the entire line of this over, so I want to see everything in there, maybe I'm not so worried about the size of my charts. I can pull that entire thing over. Now, if I want to go back and I want to see all of the other currency pairs up there before, I can just say show all, and that's going to bring them all back. Okay, all the way down to gold, dollar, and so you can see all of the different currency pairs. You can see the movement. Like we mentioned, what you're seeing is you're seeing positive and negative movements of price action in the market. Now, another thing that I recommend when you right-click on anywhere in this market watch, so again, right-clicking, you can go down to what it's called high and low. When you click high and low, it's going to show you, and this is part of the reason why I pulled the screen out a little bit more so we can see it a little bit more clearly, but you can see everything from the high and low of that day. So what it's essentially done is it's added the high and low, to your market watch. Now you can see what the highest has been of the day and what the lowest point of that currency pair has been of the day. So it really kind of makes it nice. Okay, sounds like I might be having some audio issues. So let's try and see real quick here. Let's make sure that we have decent audio. I'm just going to check real quick to see. If you could, if you're familiar, if you've seen that that chat box, go ahead and let us know. Make sure that we have good audio so we can move forward. Okay, sounds like audio is fine. Okay, looks like we're okay on audio. It sounds like earlier we were having a little bit of a struggle, maybe with a connection there, connectivity issue. Okay. So we've had some questions in here, and we'll get to questions if we miss a question for whatever reason. We can go back in and we can catch up with them as well. Okay, so in moving this line over, we once again right-clicking on the screen, we can open up and we can actually show the high and low of the day. And so before getting into anything, you can kind of already get an idea as to where things have been without even looking at the charts. And sometimes the charts take up too much space, and that's not something, maybe you don't want it to have take up so much real estate on your screen. Sometimes it's nice just to be able to go through and look at where it's at, look at what it's been. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take that away again. Just by clicking it again, that'll remove that. I'm going to move this back because we really don't need all that space. Now, you have different ways of doing this, of course. You can also go into grid. You can get rid of the grid, which cleans it up a little bit. And you can have, by hitting F10, you can see over to the right here what you're seeing is the hotkeys. F10 will get you the pop-up prices. One other thing that you can do is when you click on any given currency pair, let's say the euro US dollar, and go to this other little tab down below here in the Market Watch window, you're going to see the current ticks. So those ticks are going to show you in real time exactly what's happening with that price. And that also makes it kind of nice. We'll go back to symbols here. Okay, so that is the market watch window. Now keep in mind, this is modular. So one of the nice things that most people, I don't see many people really take advantage of this, but sometimes every once in a while you do. The market watch window can be taken and placed in different locations. If you want it on the right hand side, you grab the top of that little guy, left click, hold it, and drag it over to where you want it. Okay? It makes it very nice to be able to put it wherever you want. In this situation, I just pulled the navigator to a totally different place on my screen. So hopefully this is showing up well enough for you guys. Okay. We'll go ahead and bring them back here. But it does make it kind of nice to be able to move things around a little bit and have that ability to change things up a little bit. And you can see how modular that is. Now, of course, you're probably not going to utilize that much space. So you can go back to view, you can turn things off. You can even turn off the terminal, and you can turn off the navigator. I'm going to push Control N, and it's going to make everything disappear. It makes it pretty clean when you do that. It opens things up. Now, before I go on to the terminal, which was the box that you saw along the bottom here, before I go into the terminal, I'm going to show you a little bit more as to the controls up top. When you go across the top, of course, like we mentioned, you have the View button. Going into View, you've got several different languages. So if we want to switch things up, we can say, okay, Portuguese, we can say Spanish, or whatever language you'd like, you can actually go in there by hitting View. Okay. Now, of course, as you know, there's more than one way to do any given thing practically within MetaTrader. But if we want the market watch to come back, we click on that. You've got a data window again as well. You have the navigator and the terminal. Okay, and then you've got a strategy tester. One of the things that we really like about MetaTrader 5 is the strategy tester, the ability to go in and test different strategies. And this, of course, going over this type of thing is something that Mike Swanson does very well with, and he does it in other webinars. So if you're not part of the beta team, I would highly recommend that you get some information and join the TradeWest Forex beta team. It's a lot of fun. Okay, another option, full screen. F11 makes it to where it basically gets rid of everything. Okay, and you can see right next to that, if we want to go back to it, F11 is going to bring us back in. So I'm just going to hit F11, and it brings back my control bar across the top. And some of those things aren't necessarily extremely important, but as you get going, it makes sense to set things up the way that you want them. And keep in mind, you've always got the opportunity, the ability to go back in and save a profile. So if you get to the point where you've set it up perfectly, you like it the way it is, then you go in and you save that profile so you don't have to start all the way over. Okay, we've got someone asking to be added to the beta team. You bet. We actually have beta webinars every Thursday. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that. So if we go back in, we've got the control panel back. I'm going to say Control N. That brings back my navigator box. I'm also going to say Control M. It's going to bring back my other market watch. And then Control T is going to bring back my terminal, which is right down here. Now, I typically will minimize the size of my terminal usually. I like to see big charts. I like to be able to see everything that's going on, especially when you start getting into having different indicators and things that take up different portions of your screen. Your actual chart with the price action with being either the bars. As you can see here, this chart has bars and this chart has candlesticks. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Those are controls that you've got up top here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. We're going to go like this, get it to connect onto the side there, and then we're going to bring this over here. Pull that down, and we've got it set up pretty close to default. Okay. Moving right along. So that's pretty much everything to do within the view. And it makes it nice because, once again, after you get a little bit familiar with this, everything's second nature, and you're probably just you're saving those profiles. You'll find that the more platforms and more options that you get into, the more time you actually want to spend trading and not messing with your platform so much. So it makes it nice to be able to save things. Okay, you've got different indicators. Right here it's giving the option of inserting anything from channels to Fibonacci levels and all these different things. You determine if you want to do that. You can also label things. Sometimes we'll go in for teaching purposes and we'll label things, and then we'll go back in and maybe we'll save as a picture and do things to describe what we're doing there for people. Makes it kind of nice. When you go into charts, you can see everything from the indicators list. You can see what it is. So what you're seeing here is essentially if someone, for example, is closing off and not seeing a lot of these controls, you can still get to them from this top bar here from charts. But you're seeing most of what you have right here. And then to the right, once again, you have your hotkeys, which makes it kind of nice. Okay. Now, one thing that drove me crazy when I first started trading, I went absolutely bonkers because I had auto scroll on, and I'd go into a chart, and I'm going to give you an example of maximizing a screen. It's like any other window. You can go in and maximize any given screen. When I'd go into a chart, I'd actually go back and I'd try to go back a certain distance, and then it reset and scroll back to the beginning for me. As you can see, it pops right back to the beginning. That drove me crazy. I of course didn't understand how to navigate through and didn't know what I was doing, but it's kind of interesting because it's really so much just a matter of just seeing this stuff and going through. It's kind of like reading the instruction booklet when you're setting something up. You save yourself a lot of headache. If there's any complexity to it at all, it makes sense to do that. Now, once again, these are what we call candles. That's something we've talked about in Module 1, of course. There's also bars. And the interesting thing is they show essentially the same information for the most part. And you can see where not only where they picked up off of the previous bar and the high that they reached, the low that they reached, and then where they ended for that given time period. In this situation, we're looking at the H4, which of course stands for 4 hour. If we go all the way down to the minute, then what you'll notice is there's more movement on the charts. Of course, it's only taking 1 minute before another bar or candlestick does what they call paint. So before another one paints, if you're looking for the most action, that 1 minute chart is going to have the most movement. Now, I will say this. If you haven't been trading, the 1 minute and the 5 minute, though they're very interesting and they kind of draw you in because there is more things going on, more often than not, my experience has been there are less profitable trades found there unless you really know what you're doing with what they call scalping. Jumping in, grabbing a few pips, and then getting out. And if you're not familiar with scalping and doing that, and you have a sound strategy and you're trying and actually using that strategy, more often than not, you're not going to be trading the 1 minute chart. Okay? So if you move up that list, you're going to go, of course, from the top here, you've got the M1, which is 1 minute, the M5, M15, M30, and these are all minutes, of course, and then you get into the hourly chart, H1, H4, and then, of course, daily. D1 is 1 day, and then 1 week, and then the month. Monthly, you're going to see everything that's happened on a month. Now, they all might look the same, but they represent very different things as far as how much they've moved. On the 1 minute chart, this kind of movement is very minimal. There's not a whole lot going on from here to down here. So when you go over to the daily chart, of course, you're looking at much bigger swings. So keep that in mind. You have to, when you're placing decisions, you're making different decisions within your strategy. If you're making them on the smaller chart, you're probably looking, you have to keep a closer eye on things as where if you're doing something in the month or the week, you're not going to see any difference until you hit that next time period that you're looking for, which is if it's a day, you're not really going to go back and look at it for another day because you're not going to see anything really that makes a big difference in between unless you're looking specifically for something and you're closing off a trade or you're just barely getting into it. But the in-between time, it opens up your schedule a little bit more. I personally recommend for someone getting started anywhere in between the M15 and the 1 hour. I think that's a good starting place. That's my own recommendation. Okay. So if we want to do different things to the chart, we'll go in and we'll show you kind of how to customize some of the different things within the chart. But looking across the top here, of course, we've talked about the different buttons here. You have the ability to make a new order, and that you can push that order right here. We're going to show you another way to place another order. You get this little window that pops up. Now, I've been kind of spoiled because, of course, with Mike Swanson, he and the TradeWest team has developed a product called PipStat, and it makes it much nicer than going into the platform's actual order window. And this, of course, is going to show you what your currency pair is. Okay, and it's kind of nice because for new traders, if you go into this currency, if you go into this, it actually shows you what it is, so you can see that EUR and RUB doesn't mean that you have to rub your ear or something. It means it's the euro versus the Russian ruble. So it is kind of nice in that sense, getting used to what the different currency pairs and what the symbols, as they say, are representing. That's one nice thing about it. Otherwise, I'm not a huge fan of how it's set up. There is the market execution, which is actually pulling the trigger now. You're doing it right at that very instant when you push sell or buy, okay, on any given trade. One of the fun things about Forex is you're not just buying or doing one thing or another. You've got options. Now, you're either going to buy or sell, and it's going to be a pending order or a market execution. Pending order is something that's not taking place until it meets your parameters. And we'll go into that. We have different tools that help with that as well. PipStat Manager makes a very big difference as far as pending orders. It's kind of a side-by-side sidekick to PipStat. If you're looking more execution with trade management, money management, everything done for you and included in there, you're going to be looking at PipStat. We'll talk about that in a future webinar. Okay, the volume, of course, is going to be how much you are actually placing into any given order or trade when you're executing that trade. Now, if I go in and I say on my account, if I say 0.01, notice that it's not giving me the ability to sell or buy. And just to make sure I've got everybody with me, let's see, why is it doing that? Why is it not enabling me to make this lot size? Okay, I can see a couple people have it right. Okay, just about everybody's got it right. That's correct. This is not a micro account. So if it's not a micro account, then I can't place a trade with a micro lot size. That's exactly right. So if it's an ECN account and it's set up as a standard or a mini account, then that's my lot size right there. Otherwise, I could go in and I can always try to do 0.10. Now it pops up. So I can do mini trades, mini lot sizes, but I can't do a micro, which would be 0.01. And in one of the previous modules, we talked about that, of course. It's not going to let me take that trade. Okay? You, of course, in this option, you have the ability to put in a stop loss and a take profit. Now, if you're using PipStat, it's going to give you, after you've been trading, it's going to give you what your optimal stop loss and take profit is, which is it's kind of nice being spoiled. Okay, we're going to close this window so we can go back to it here. So as far as everything goes across the top here, the only other thing that I really want to go in and point out for new traders is the Expert Advisors button. An Expert Advisor, as we've talked about before, is essentially a robot. It's an automated trading system that's been designed to do almost everything by itself. Now, when you click that button and you see it go from green to red, that means that it's not allowing any automated systems to trade. So it's kind of like a pause button. It pauses and stops everything. So if we have it on green, that means that any kind of a expert advisor that we're going to bring into it and put on the chart is going to go in and actually do whatever it's telling it to do, whatever that robot's programmed to do. You have, once I click that and I come over here, you go over to the navigator box, and as you can see here, I'll back up here just so you can see what I've done. But in the navigator box, you have all these different little pluses and minuses. Now if I'm going to Expert Advisors, I'm going to go down the line here. You can see the plus symbol. To expand that folder out, I can see what's on there. Now in future webinars, we'll show you a little bit more the systems that we have and the installation and how that stuff works. But for right now, I'm just going to say, okay, a MACD sample. Now you can either double-click this, or you can left-click and drag it over to that chart that you're trying to put it on. Okay? Now this is focused on this chart, so it automatically knows that this is the one that I want to put it on. I'm going to go down into the common inputs here, where it says common. I'm going to click Allow Live Trading. And it even says Allow DLL Imports. And typically, you want to keep them checked on the left-hand side and not the right. I'm going to hit OK. So now that I've put it on there, you don't see anything on there per se because this is from the platform. If it was another EA, there'd probably be some kind of indication that it's doing different things or look different. In the top right-hand corner, you can see where it says MACD sample, and you can see a happy little smiley face. Now, if I go back to that Expert Advisors button and click on the Expert Advisors button, you can see that that little smiley face has turned into an X, which means that it is not enabled. So it's disabled at this point. If I want to re-enable it, I just click that button again, and it shows that it's okay. If for some reason there's something that's not right with your Expert Advisor or your robot, you could have it green here, but it's still showing X. You probably have to go back into your settings, and you can do that by right-clicking on the chart and going into, you can do it a couple different ways. You can hit F7, or you can go in, right-click, and then go into your context menu here, and then go over to Properties. You can also remove it this way, or you can go into Strategy Tester, which would be a completely different webinar. But under Properties, when you click on that, you have the ability to go in and see all of the different settings and how you set it up before. Inputs, depending upon your robot or your Expert Advisor, there's going to be a lot of different options. If you're trading with TradeHero or TradeHero Pro, you'll notice the difference is it's significant. TradeHero, the regular EA, it's only going to have about this many different options. You have a little bit more than this, but you really don't have a whole lot of control over what's going on. But sometimes ignorance is bliss. Let it be. Set it, forget it, and it makes it kind of nice because you don't have to understand everything. TradeHero Pro opens it up for people with a little bit more experience, and so that's how you'll control things. Same thing with PipHero. There's quite a bit more options. Okay, so we're going to hit OK. It looks like everything's good there, and we can move forward. Now, if we want to remove it, of course, you can either right-click on the chart, or we can hit F7, and it pulls up the same window. Okay, in this situation, I'm going to right-click. I'm going to say Expert Advisors, and hit Remove. You can notice that it's gone now. Okay, so I'm not a big bar fan. I like candlesticks, and so we'll open it up and we can see that we have candlesticks that give us that volume. You can see what's taking place within these trades, and you can customize these charts just about to any preference that you might have. Before we go any further with this, I want to take one step down. We've talked a little bit about the navigator. I do want to go over really quickly the terminal. It makes sense to go into this because a lot of times this is one of the most important elements or sections of MetaTrader, and people overlook it. More often than not, they don't pay much attention to it. On the very bottom here, you've got your tabs and control to jump into any different aspect of information of where your account has been. If you do not see trade, and you see news or different tabs in there, if you don't see trade and you don't see your equity balance, okay, then what's happened is you have not properly logged in. One way to tell is by looking here in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see these two different lines. This is your connection status. If you click on that once, don't double-click on it necessarily, but just click on it once, you can see where it says log in. Now, of course, top left of the screen, you can log in up here as well. There's several different ways, and there's also hotkeys, so you can do it from several different ways. If something doesn't seem right and you've uploaded an EA or an Expert Advisor robot onto your charts, it sometimes makes sense to go in and rescan servers. That goes back through every account is assigned to a server. In other words, a virtual computer that is located somewhere with that broker. And rescanning the server is it's kind of almost like a soft reset. It goes through and it just kind of rereads everything that's going on. If there's a small, very easily fixed issue, sometimes rescanning cert will be the easiest way to take care of that. So always check that, and if it shows red with a little diagonal line here, red on the bottom and on top, in this situation you can see that it's green on top, and then on the bottom side of that diagonal it's actually red. We're actually connected. If it's red on the top and the bottom, and you're wondering why you can't see trade here, you know, this spun my wheels for quite a while when I first got started. It's because you're not logged in. Okay, so on the bottom you have trade. That's going to show you how much your account has in it, what the account balance is. When you go to account history, it's going to show you, what's taken place. Everything that's taken place within that account history, you're going to see right here. Now, in this situation, you can see that there's already been some kind of activity. There's no order per se, but it is showing there's a number there, and it's showing the deposit. It says type. It's giving you all the different information about it. Stop loss, take profit. It shows all these different things. In this situation, we're just looking at the balance, and it was a brand new, fresh deposit. $900 was what we deposited, and we made that determination when we had that initial little window when we set up. Okay. Now, one of the things that I highly recommend, and especially if you're trading with what we call expert advisors or robots, I highly recommend that you come up here to this bar and you right-click on the bar. Now, you can see in this context menu that you have different options, and one is auto-arrange, one is grid. You can go through and do different things here. History, last 3 months, you've got options here. I highly recommend that you come to the one that says comments and click on it. What comments does, once again, you can customize the size of this stuff, which makes it really nice. Comments are going to explain specifically what's taking place. Now, if you have one account, and this I see people do this all the time, if you have one account and you have several different EAs or expert advisors or robots or different systems doing different things, maybe you're making manual trades, you're trading with robots, you're doing all these different things, sometimes the easiest way to differentiate what transaction is assigned to which tool or which function, the best way to do that is to have comments enabled on this bar. Once again, right-click on it. That gets rid of it. Click on it. It's going to set that up, and you'll have comments. And that is huge. That makes a big difference in being able to differentiate one trade from the next. Sometimes people will beat themselves up because they'll think that they've made several bad trades. Maybe that's not the case. If you can differentiate what's what, maybe part of it was an expert advisor or an EA or what have you. So, but I highly recommend that you enable that. The next is alerts. Alerts, we're going to go into this a little bit more in a future webinar, but alerts make a big difference as far as knowing what's happening at any given time. Now, depending upon how you have your chart set up, some of you are going to use what we call a VPS, and we talk about those in several other webinars as well. But a VPS, of course, being a virtual private server, essentially means that you have a little bit of rack space, as they call it, or you have your own kind of computer away from your home computer. And people will use those VPSs to have a constant uptime or a continuous connection with the broker to where they don't have any other distractions or any other things to bother them or worry about. It makes a really big difference having a VPS and being able to do that. Now, if you're not trading automated systems, you're only trading when you're on your computer, you have a battery backup, you have all these different things in order and ready to go when you're trading, then you're probably fine. But some VPSs, keep in mind, some VPSs do not have audible alerts. I'm going to recommend Impress VPS. You're going to get those audible alerts, and you're going to have several different options, and they're priced right for what it is. Not to mention, we have with us within the company the VPS administrator, which makes it very convenient to have him go back in, answer questions, connect different things, do different things for you while trading. Okay, mailbox. This is your little mailbox within that account that you set up, and they're meaning the brokerage, is going to send you different emails and different things giving you updates and different information about what is taking place. So you can expand these. A lot more things that you can do with the email. We're not going to go into them right now, but it is good to go in and check that email. As you can see here, here's our welcome email from FinFX. Okay, signals. You're going to see everything from signals. Your expert advisors are going to be your EAs. Now you can see that I actually I put it on there. It's giving us a kind of a history of what we did with that. It says loaded successfully. You can see that I removed it. Okay, and you can see all these different things on here. Compiling. This is what the system has done. If you've had issues and you're talking about an EA, sometimes you go here for answers as to what has taken place and why it did not work. You can go into Journal as well. That's showing, other than just EAs, it's showing the rest of that information. Okay, now on the actual chart itself, going back to the chart, some people do not like the lines. You can see in the lines here, you can see that there's dotted lines throughout the majority of them. If you're looking for kind of the middle of it, you can see the one solid line shooting all the way through here. That gives you kind of a gauge as to what's what. See how that line moves when you move the charts. Now, like I mentioned, up at the top, I don't like auto scroll. There's chart shift and there's auto scroll. I take auto scroll off because I like to be able to pull that back and not have it move on me. I want the control to know exactly what I'm looking at. If I'm analyzing something, I want to look at that history without it bouncing back, and that's done by clicking the auto scroll. Now let's say I'm looking back, and you can see down here at the bottom, across the bottom, it's very simple. It's two-dimensional, but you have an X and a Y axis. Okay, and when you look at the bottom here, across the bottom, what you're looking at is your time. So if I'm going back, you can see the dates changing, the days. If I move slowly, of course, right now I'm looking at days, so the time is moving very quickly because each one of these bars or candlesticks stands for and represents one day. So every time I move it, I'm going back in time pretty quick. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to change it to a 1 minute time frame. Now you're seeing times as in actual time of the day in minutes. So each one of these candlesticks in this situation represent 1 minute. I'm keeping the auto scroll off. Depending upon your connection speed, sometimes it can get kind of jittery. But you can move this around. And one of the things that I really like to do is I'm not a big fan of the grid. And the grid are these lines that are on the chart. So I'll right-click on the chart and I'll go to grid. And it makes it much cleaner. And I prefer that. I never really trade with the grid. I have a pretty good sense of depth, and when you know, vertical and the horizontal lines, I can get a pretty good idea as to where they're at without having those all set up. So one thing to consider as you get used to it and comfortable with it, you're going to find yourself setting things differently to accommodate just kind of your preferences. Okay. So if we get rid of the grid, that's one thing to start. Now if we come down here to the time and we left click, you kind of got to be careful when you do this, but you left click on it and you pull it one direction or another, you can kind of see how it moves things. Now what's happening is I'm compressing that 1 minute time frame, and you're seeing the candlesticks very, much closer together, which can be kind of confusing depending upon how you do it. If I want to open it back up, I go the opposite direction. I left click on it and I kind of drag it to the right. Now see how big the candlesticks are getting there? Smaller, smaller, that's where we started out. Keep in mind, nothing is changing with my time. I'm still at M1. I'm still at the 1 minute time frame. Okay? Now, I like to do this if I have several charts and I'm looking specifically at the chart and I'm trying to get an idea as to what's taking place with price action, where the price of any given currency is at. And if you've got a mouse wheel on your mouse, then you can scroll pretty easily just by rolling it, which makes it nice. And that's pretty easy to do. If you want to just shoot right back to the front anytime, obviously you've got auto scroll, and then making your adjustments again. Brings me right back there to where we're at. You can see the date right there, and you can see this candle, and you can see it looks like it's still dropping here. So hopefully that makes sense. If there's any other questions, please let us know. Once again, we're going to try and answer questions as we go through here, and then I'll see if I can answer some questions at the end. Now, just the way that we did this, we also have the capacity, the ability to do that with our height of price. So we can come over to the price side, and we can left-click on it, and we can pull it down. I've seen some people that have accidentally, this sounds ridiculous, but I've seen some people that have come to this, they've opened it wide up and thought, oh my gosh, I'm dead meat. I've missed out on my exit, or I've missed some kind of an opportunity, or man, I should have caught that, when in actuality they accidentally just moved. They just moved the price, and really the market was sideways, and there's consolidation, and there's very little movement looking at it like this. Now, you have control of that as well. Sometimes when you're looking at a small chart, sometimes this information is less important than where things are at specifically, but you can see that line coming across the top that shows exactly where it's at. Okay, now that's one line that makes it very nice. If you've heard of Pipstat Manager, Pipstat Manager actually places the lines on your screen. You can double-click them and move them on screen, which makes it great. Anything from stop loss to take profit and buy or sell limit orders, all sorts of stuff. You have that control, which makes it very nice. Okay, now we've shown a little bit of the ability to modify things. Let's go into one other thing, and that is properties. Now, once again, you can right-click on the chart, and you can go down to, in this situation, F8, or you can just hit F8, or excuse me, properties, which is just F8. And it should pull up, but you can go into it, and this is going to give you the ability to determine what everything's going to look like. This is kind of your customization. Now, I recommend that you go through and you figure out what looks best and what you like the best before going forward and saving any kind of profile. You might set something up one day, and it'd be, you might like it, save it as one profile, the next day go in and change it because your eyes were hurting or something bothered you. You have to be able to look at this stuff and pretty easily determine whether or not you want to make any kind of a trade. So we're going to go in and we're going to say, okay, with the background, let's change that background to gray, for example. I'm going to hit OK. We can still see everything, but it might be kind of hard on our eyes. So we'll go back into it, and we'll say, instead of having the bar up and the bar down, you can see where it's lime green. We're going to go in and we're going to say bar up, we want it to be blue, maybe. And the bar down, we want it to be red. The bull candle, we're going to say a bull, we're going to have it go up, and then a bear candle, we're going to change that to, you've got all these different options. Of course, you can create your own custom colors, but I'm just going to pick some from the predetermined presets here. I'm going to say, for the bear candle, I'm going to say red again. And maybe we don't even do exactly red because that's kind of annoying. So we go and we take a little bit more subdued maroon. Okay, so this is all different things that you have control over. Now, you can continue all the way down. You can determine what you like here. I'm going to change the background color. I actually kind of like white. So I'm going to pick a lighter color. I'm going to say right in there. That's seashell. I'm going to pick just white. And I'm going to hit OK. Now that might be too bright if it's dark at night, or let's say you're trading on an iPad, or you're trading, on a laptop, and you're just kicking back in bed, just watching the charts. Yeah, that's something that I found a lot of new traders doing. They'll take their laptop to bed so they can watch that trade, and if they wake up in the middle of the night, they can keep an eye on it. It's kind of funny that you can do whatever, but this might be too annoying. It might keep you up at night, so you might want a black background. Keep that kind of stuff in mind. One way to continue to be able to actually make it to the point where you're successful trading is to not annoy your spouse if you're married. Okay, so this is just one chart. If I come back over here and I kind of minimize that chart, you can see it's a pretty clean chart. There's not really a whole lot going on it, other than maybe what I want to see and what I have. If I come over to the navigator box, back over here on the left-hand side, on the bottom left, I can go into all sorts of different indicators. There's indicators and then there's custom indicators. If I go and I say, you know what, I want to actually, a couple of them that people use a lot is the MACD or even the moving average. Once again, you can left click on it, drag it over to the specified chart, and you can determine what you want. So let's say we're going to pick the 34 EMA, which I know is a favorite of Mike Swanson's. You can see that pop up. Now if you want to do another one, all you do is you grab it again, drag and drop it onto the chart, and you can create, say we want to do a 200 EMA. You can see these different lines, and those will post on there. Of course, I've got auto scroll on, so I'll take that off. But you can see over time what that looks like. You can also, of course, change those colors. Those are all things that we can customize. One of the nice things about MetaTrader 4. Okay. Now, we've shown you kind of how to customize some of the different properties of each given chart. And we're not going to go into a whole lot on the execution side of this webinar and this module. But hopefully this gives you kind of an idea as to what you're looking for here. In this situation, we've got the 4 charts that we have that are representing the euro dollar, the pound dollar, the dollar franc, and the dollar yen, USD, JPY. So one thing to consider when you're looking at these, and you're looking at any given chart, I have to keep in mind we're talking the very first stages of this when you're just getting used to it. The base currency pair, as they would call it, is the currency pair that you find on the right-hand side. Okay? So in this situation, the euro-US dollar, the base currency pair is going to be the USD, the US dollar. Okay? That currency pair, if it's going up, you're going to see that the euro is gaining strength against the dollar. If it's going down, it means that the euro is losing strength against the dollar. Very, very important to consider. Okay. Now, if I've got 4 charts open, and let's say I want to open another one, of course, I can come over here and say, well, I actually want to, I've heard that there's some good trades, or I saw something where there's going to be an awesome trade. Oh, excuse me. What did I say? Okay, right currency is quote, not base. If I'm looking at the charts, and I'm pulling up multiple charts, then what we're doing is you've got the option of opening and putting more charts on here, and maybe you don't want to see them. So if you come over and you grab any given currency, you can pull them over, and you can say, okay, I want to open up another currency pair. You pull that up, and it opens into a large window. That large window, if you don't like the positioning of it or where it's at, maybe you don't have other screens. You've got some kind of boundaries as to where that chart will go. And there's different software that can open it up and do different things, but for what we're showing here, it's as large as you make your MetaTrader platform. When you set this up, you can set it up the same way as you set up any other chart. I'm just going to grab that and take the grid off really quick. But you have the ability to actually change the setup and how it lays out the layout within your platform. And once again, if we want to close the things on the right, let's say we've got everything we want, we can say Control M, Control N, and that opens up our screen a little bit more. Let's say Control T and get rid of our terminal. Or you can also go to where it says View, and you can just click on those and remove them so they're not there. It's easy enough to get in and out of those to pull them back up. You don't necessarily need them there all the time. Your information that you're reading is actually going to be on the charts. Okay, so if we want to customize the windows here, we can go in and we can click on Window. I'll show you here how essentially you can cascade them. You can go through and you can tile them horizontally. You can tile them vertically. You can even change icons. In this situation, we'll show you really quick. It's going to, if I say tile horizontally, it's going to try and take up a horizontal approach to each one of these charts so that you can see them and see them well. Okay, and in this situation, you can reposition them still. Doesn't mean that you're set with where they're at. You can still adjust them and put them in different places. It just makes it nice to be able to go back in and hit either tile vertically or horizontally to get them to all show up in somewhat of an organized fashion, because you can have them all over the place, but you might not be able to find them very easily if they're not in a decent place. In this situation, I'm going to close another currency pair. I'm actually going to close 2 of them just to kind of show you. If it's an even number, or not even number necessarily, but if it's less than 4, it's not going to be the same across it. You'll see the difference a little bit easier when I represent it here with the horizontal and vertical. So horizontal, of course, with only 3 of them, you're going to see a big difference in how it lays out. Now this is going to give you a lot more information, and it gives you a little bit more of the ability. Get rid of the grids here, because I'm not a fan of them. It gives you more opportunity to kind of see a little bit more history without actually having it open. Now you can see it kind of expand and contract as you move it there. You can see it kind of move there, but that's because it's trying to keep in view in that chart window what you're looking at. So one of those things to be conscious of. Now you can see right here I've got a MACD on this. If I don't want any of that stuff on there, I can go into indicators list. You can see as I right click on there, I select it, it says MACD. Well, maybe I don't want it on there. I can either edit it from there, or I can also delete it. I'm going to delete it. Hit close, and it disappears. Okay. I like clean charts. There's some people that like to have a whole lot of things on there, giving them, some people will use 3, 4, 5 different indicators to watch, just so they can kind of, as they get an idea or a feel for the personality of any given indicator or expert advisor, they'll watch these indicators, and more often than not custom indicators, to see when they're recommending for a specific entry or an exit, maybe even where to scale out. So something to consider. Okay, this is horizontally. If we go to vertical, it's a big difference. Of course, we can bring that in if we want to, if we don't like what it looks like. We can change that guy into Candlesticks, change that one into Candlesticks. You've got the control over each one of these to customize them and change them however you'd like. Okay? If auto scrolls on, it's going to always end up bringing you back to the most recent price action where it's taking place on the chart. We had mentioned before a gap. Here's an example of a little gap here. You see a space here in between. We've got auto scroll on, obviously. You can see the space in between this candlestick and this candlestick. Now, being as we're talking about the 4-hour, that's a significant move in comparison to what you might see in other places. But that's a pretty big move. It's not huge, but it's there. So it's one thing to consider when you're looking at your charts. You kind of start looking for these different things as you're trying to get used to the personality of any given currency pair. In this situation, the dollar franc in the 4-hour. I'm going to change it to the 5-minute on each one of these. And you can see sometimes it's going to show a little more flat in this situation. What we kind of call sideways or consolidating. Okay. All you have to do is click on the top of each window, and it's going to allow you to go in and change all this. So everything that's one of the nice things about MetaTrader. Other platforms out there have similar functionality, but it makes it nice to be able to go in and do this stuff to customize it to fit what you're looking to do. Okay. Other things to consider when you're looking at your charts. I highly recommend if you've purchased a strategy or if you have something from a company, you'll more often than not you'll have the opportunity to get from them what they call a template. The templates are going to really open up and give you a lot of these presets that have everything set up on any given chart. Now, a template is usually more specific to one given chart. So if you right-click on it, you can also see that you can go down to template on the context menu for right-clicking on that given chart, and you can go over and you can say load template, remove template, save template. So you can create your own. In this situation, we'll go momentum. This is showing us different momentum indicators. This is not Momentix. We'll show you some of that stuff in another webinar, but this is just momentum. Now, it's obviously this is a template, so it puts it together exactly the way it was saved. You can still go back in and you can customize things, but that's one of the nice things about templates is you can set it up a certain way, save it that way, and then just pull it right back up. For anyone that's been trading for a while, templates and profiles are one of your best friends while trading. It saves you a lot of time, and when you have several different platforms with different brokerages, it speeds things up significantly. So you don't have to go through and spend all that time customizing everything every step of the way. Okay. Well, hopefully this is kind of giving you guys an idea as to how the layout of MetaTrader works. Of course, there's several other different controls that you can see in here, some of which are probably a little bit more advanced in how we use them. But you've got the ability to go in and use these different buttons and tools when you're setting things up on your charts. Like we mentioned, you've got text. You can go into your Fibonacci retracements. You've got all of these different channels, lines, and things that you have control over. And as you get used to trading, you'll use them to show different things off, and you'll use them to actually determine, determine what kind of movement you're talking about. Going across from, trying to find out what exactly is taking place on any given chart. So if you're looking to find out where, how much movement you've seen. You grab the crosshairs, you click on one spot, left click, and you drag it over, and you can see how much movement you've seen just by looking at the numbers off to the right there. You can see you can get specific information that otherwise you're not going to see on there. Okay, are there any questions about the platform that we can answer while we're in here for you guys? Make sure that we're getting everything answered. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so hopefully we're doing okay explaining this stuff. Okay, guys. Well, we've explained the majority of the platform. One of the things that we're going to go into in the future is we're going to talk a little bit more about how to go about making trades. And it's obviously it's a big part of if you're comfortable making those trades and the day-to-day approach of making trades, getting comfortable with actually placing those trades and doing different things, it's going to make a very big difference as to if you're very comfortable, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself, you're going to have more confidence, which is huge when you're trading. All these different things add up, so they all kind of make a difference. Okay. I don't see any other questions, so what we'll go ahead and do is we'll finish up today's webinar. If you guys have any other questions, please, you can submit it to us on Skype. You can also shoot things over to us in an email, or you can make a comment here. It looks like we have a couple comments that are just starting to jump in. Okay, so we've got someone asking if we can send the video to your email. Yes, if you are in this webinar, you will actually get the email. If you're not, I'll give you some information in just a second here that you can get. If you're seeing this as a replay, I'll get you some information where you can actually go in and still access the information. We'll talk a little bit more in the future about MetaTrader 5. As we mentioned before, there's a whole lot of similarities. It's more similar than not. It's not something that we see as being a kind of a mainstream system yet per se. But it's definitely going to make its way into the mainstream. Eventually, it will replace MetaTrader 4, but for right now, it's really still MetaTrader 4. Okay, here's our contact information. So go ahead and check out our contact information. info@TradeWestForex.com. We have a phone number you can reach us at, 801-436-7010. We're located in southern Utah. Okay. I don't see any other questions, but we do have a couple people requesting that we send this to them. Once again, if we've got your email and we've already set up with you, then we're going to go ahead and send it to you. You guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Once again, this is kind of the first step in getting comfortable and understanding MetaTrader 4. We'll have future webinars where we'll talk a little bit more about MetaTrader 5. We'll talk a little bit more about execution within MetaTrader 4. So please stay tuned for the next one. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be this next Friday. And we are recording these webinars so that you can watch them and go back over and review them. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. We appreciate you being with us, and we'll see you next Friday, hopefully. Thanks.